On day 11, we're going to leave Kalispell, drive past Flathead Lake, and on down to the National Bison Range. There we're going to go out looking for wildlife. We'll drive around the loop twice, but we're going to compress those 2 trips around down to 1 and show all the animals that we saw on both trips. And then we headed back to Kalispell for the night with a different route along the eastern shore of the Flathead Lake. We leave Kalispell early in the morning to get there as early as we can and have as much time to look. We drive down the west side of Flathead Lake and we'll come back on the east side. We drive through many twisty, curvy country roads, which are actually major highways driving 60 miles an hour. And then we arrive at the National Bison Range. In 1804, when Lewis and Clark explored the West, there were 30 to 60 million bison. But after 85 years of hunting for hides, only 100 wild animals still existed in the United States and about 900 in private collection. This massive decline set in motion the forming of the National Bison Range in 1908 to protect the bison. 34 bison were bought and brought here, and now a herd of 350 to 500 live here on this 18,000 acres, and the surplus is sold off each year. We're going to take the loop around and look for wildlife. First we'll look on the west loop here, a short little loop where we'll be able to see our first bison. There's a few bull bison here, but mainly we're going to see the bigger herds out on the main prairies. And now it's time to head over to the Red Sleep Mountain Drive. And as we do, we almost immediately will see our first wildlife. This is a one-way road, so we won't have to worry about oncoming traffic, which is good. And there, up on the hill, are the first wildlife we see. Some pronghorn antelope. Soon we drive on up the hill to see what else we can find. At the top of the hill we stop, and there we have an overlook of the Flathead River bottoms. And this is what the valley looks like. Along the way we're going to see many bear rocks, like this one. Look like bears, and Deborah's going to mistake them for bears. As we keep on driving up the Red Sleep Mountain Drive, we see in the distance a bull bison wandering by itself. They often do during the off-season from breeding. Next, we run into some mule deer on up the road. Next, we'll be driving along a creek bed full of trees and vegetation and lots of berry bushes, which are full of berries at this time. This is going to be prime black bear habitat, and we're going to see a whole bunch. You can see our first black bear there in the bottom left-hand corner. If you watch real closely, you'll see him running. And now you can see him here as he walks through the vegetation. And then one more time as he runs across an open spot. Kind of poor focus. Let's do that again slower. As we drive along, you can see the thick vegetation and the berries all along through here. There are also lots of flowers, and it's a beautiful area. And then we come around the corner, and there is another bear jig this time. Over there in the left in the gully is a bear in the top of the trees eating the berries. It's a black bear. Now it's time to drive on. We drive rather slowly, looking over into the ditch, hoping that maybe we can see some more bear. And there's one down in the stream eating. It's brown, but it's still a black bear, just in a brown face. We drive along looking at the beautiful leaves as they start to change colors. And then we're going to be heading upward into the forested highlands. Here we come across a bull bison again, right on the side of the road, feeding, and he could care less about us. They tend to be solitary when it's not the breeding season. Heading on up into the highlands, we eventually come to the highest point in this park, 4,885 feet above sea level, high point. That's about a mile almost. Alongside the road, there's a chipmunk playing. and then some views over the valley. That's the road we've been driving up for the last little bit to get to the highlands. Kind of twists and curves as it comes up. And then it's time to head down the other side into the valley. If you'll notice, just to the left of the road is a big tree, and sitting beside it is a very nice mule deer buck. Right now he's looking at us and kind of interested, but doesn't seem to be too panicky. We are just about 5 feet away from him. On the way back in a couple of hours, he'll be looking the other way. And now we continue down the very steep slope as we come down off of the Mile High mountain. We have a great view over the valley here and can see all the farms that are located down there and how they're spaced out fairly far. That's the Homestead Act in action. And off we go down still, twisting and turning on a steep slope. Soon we come to the bottom and we start the Prairie Drive. This is a two-way street, and so we have to watch out for traffic coming both ways. A little ways down the road we come upon a pronghorn. This pronghorn doesn't seem to be very scared of anybody. He's just right off the road, as you can see here. This time he's standing. Next time we come through he'll be laying down. And it is a buck. A little ways further we come to the bison, and have finally found the main herd. The first time we come through, they're out in the distance, and we watch them for a while as they run around and as they fight. You notice these right here are fighting with each other. And then rolling in the dust. Later on, they'll be running around. The next time we come through, they're standing right beside the road on both sides, and we get a much better look at them. On down the road a little ways, there seems to be something going on with many vehicles stopped and cameras out and people watching. We find out it's the elk. They're out in Mission Creek feeding. A couple of bulls and some more across the river that are calling. They seem to be feeding on vegetation under the water. And this one takes notice when the elk across the river start to call, and he goes to check it out. And now it's time to head on down the road. We're going to be heading out of the park now. Along the way, we're going to stop at the gift shop and do some shopping, and it has a beautiful view from there. Then it's off to Kalispell again. When we first passed through the town, we noticed that it was decorated for fall or Halloween. Many hay bales put up as different characters from the Marvel comics. We see a few as we go back. Here's Groot in a church, and here's What's Your Superpower. And soon we're coming back up to Flathead Lake. We will be going down the right or east side of the lake this time. We came up the west side. This side is mainly a touristy area with a lot of vacation homes and hotels. Fishing and all sorts of things are done on this side of the lake. It's a major recreation place in Montana. After we leave the lake, we're soon in Kalispell, and we're going to drive to downtown and look around a little bit. It says it's historically significant, and we want to see what's down there before we go to our hotel. And now it's time to pick up a little supper at KFC and then to head over to our hotel for the night. And this brings us to the end of day 11.